morning, good afternoon, or good evening. It depends on wherever you are. Welcome to this tutorial, my gear. And that is my gear about the Hammond XK-5. So everything rotates around the XK-5. How do I get the sound that you see on my videos recording? I mainly do covers and rock Hammond recording. I would say probably 80% of my videos are just performance. But recently I've been doing also some recording regarding tutorials related to everything rotate around the Hammond. Hammond, I don't necessarily mean just the Hammond brand, but everything that is drawbars and organ, Krumar Mojo, can be also other Hammond models like the XK Pro, which I had, and you can see on some of my videos during the recording the XK Pro used, the XK3C, and so on and so forth. So I will not focus about music specifically. I will not talk about the Hammond XK5, which is the priority, in the sense that this is the Hammond organ I'm using right now, and my gear and my recent recording rotates around this. But this can actually apply for any other Hammond. You don't have to use an XK5 with this specific gear. So I would like to talk about specific items that I use, so my gear. And we're gonna talk about the mic I use during my tutorial recording. So when I speak, like podcasting, okay? Then we're gonna talk about the second mic I use, which is the one actually used for the recording the performance. And the performance I always record within my room for YouTube in a live context. So I play live and the mic is actually recording the performance. Okay, and there is a specific type of mic I'm using because there are some specific reasons why you have to use not that specific mic brand, but that specific mic with that specific specs. Because after several tries, I noticed this is the best for recording, and there is a reason why. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the second mic. We're gonna talk about how do I capture the sound, for example, for the Leslie out of my XK5, and why it matters during the recording, because the Leslie, it's a particular sound that you get out of the Hammond, and it has this rotary effect, that kind of almost a 3D effect because of the horn spinning and the low rotary motor, okay, for the low speaker. And also we're gonna talk about my MOTU M4, which is the audio interface. We're gonna talk briefly. It's just to say that it's a quite nice interface to use, and the amplification system. Okay, so let's resume. We're gonna talk about my Mackie model, which is the mic used for tutorial and podcasting, so basically to talk. I'm using this right now to talk to you, and the model is the EM99B. Okay, now I am also using for recording the Rode NT1, which is this one. Okay, very nice mic. You can get this nice quite heavy and strong boom arm, and actually it's not a boom arm, this is a stand, a straight stand that you can get in the package as well. And then I'm using my NT100 from Rode as well for listening to my recording, do some editing before I post on YouTube. Why I'm making this tutorial for my gear? Because people are interested to know I got some comments. How do I get that recording sound? So the final package, okay. And so I'm sharing. Sometimes it seems easy, but it's not always so obvious. And if you do not have any experience, you will end up like me, buying a cheap mic. Unfortunately, with recording, there is no really shortcut. You have to buy something that is decent. I'm not talking you have to buy something pro, and not necessarily the Mackie microphone, the EM99. It's not necessary to buy this model, but it's necessary to buy the specs, something that contains the specs of this microphone. So let's start gradually. Let's start with how do I record my tutorial. The tutorial that I always talk about Hammond gear, Hammond, how to use it, how to do specific things. Sometimes I teach small things like power chords. There is a tutorial about that. How to use drawbars. Okay, when I do that, I am talking to you. And the Mackie EM99, it's a dynamic mic and is really good. Less sensitive to background noise. So it is going to record your voice clearly, like many other mics. So this is not a big, a big problem. You can choose whatever else you like. But what is important is when you record your music live out of your amplification system. I'm using the Rode NT1, and the reason for that is because it's a large diaphragm condenser. It uses 48 volts phantom power. And why is that? Because you can actually capture the ambient sound within the room. The sound is not just what you get out of your amplifier. It propagates in the room, okay? So to have the best effect without mixing your recording into a DAW, then this is the best way. So you don't need necessarily the Rode NT1, which is this one, okay? It's a really nice mic, by the way. This is good. But you can buy better or cheaper. It's your decision. I would suggest to buy a decent mid-range mic quality, okay? Now, compared, for example, with comparing the Rode NT1 with SM57, which is largely used to record instruments live, live band or live instruments that have been played live in a live situation, is true, you can do that, but what you get is really dry sound. Why? Because that type of mic will cancel the noise around and will directly focus on the source of the sound, where it's coming from, the amplifier. Instead, this one is a large diaphragm, therefore it's going to capture the vibration of the sound that is going to propagate in the room. So you get this natural recording sound, which basically is what your ears is going to hear while you play. The way I play, it's yeah, I play live with my band, but I also play home most of the time in this room, which is a small room. And if I want to avoid mixing my recording into a DAW, then that is the only way. You need a large diaphragm condenser, which usually implies the usage on your audio card of the 48 volts phantom power. Now, both mics are connected to my MOTU M4. You have all your basic input and output. You can connect your instrument as well. even though my Hammond is directly connected to the amplification system. So this is the audio interface I'm using, which is connected to my PC, and my backing track, which is my band here in the room when I record for YouTube. Then I use a PC where it's actually streaming an audio backing track, a quality one. Sometimes I create it, sometimes I just find it around. You know, it's possible to purchase audio tracks, backing track, and use them legally without any problem. And that's it. Then I use as amplification system my Roland. My Roland is the one you can actually see on the camera right now, and is the KC-350. This one has been replaced by the KC-400, but you can use any Roland or keyboard amp. I believe the Roland perhaps is one of the best out there, but that's my opinion. Maybe people think differently. As long as you use a keyboard amp and you are okay with it. Now, how does it sound, the Hammond? People are wondering, and nobody's talking. I've seen it loads of gear tutorials talking about Hammond, how good it's sounding, but nobody's mentioning where do you connect it. I mean, you could connect it to a Leslie. Okay, that's an option that everybody can assume. But what about if you're not using a Leslie, you can afford one, and how good it sounds without a real Leslie? Now, for the Hammond lovers, Hammond XK-5 lovers, this is your tutorial. I mean, you probably know, you can agree with me, but the Leslie, the onboard Leslie is so good that I personally use it with and pair it with a new instrument ventilator, and haven't seen that big gain in terms of Leslie quality sound. I had used it, and I will demonstrate on the videos now. So on this tutorial I will add a video of two performances, and you can compare yourself. One with a real Leslie, the 2101 MK1, which uses a spinning rotary system, and another recording of the same song without Leslie, only using the onboard Leslie. And by the way, the MOTU has an excellent onboard Leslie. The MOTU is really good, and I think besides the Hammond XK-5 is one of the few Hammond out there, Hammond clone organ that can compete with XK5. Now, that being said, you can, so what are you saying is that a Hammond XK5 onboard Leslie can beat a real Leslie? Perhaps if you are on a live situation, for live I mean like playing in a pub or small venue, you need something more convincing, more powerful, to really hear that air movement. You need the right gear, and that will be probably a real Leslie. But if you're recording from home, then you don't need a real Leslie, absolutely. While you're recording, most of the 3D dynamics, the air movement, are cancelled by the recording itself. You know, you can't really capture, and perhaps the only way to go close to capture all the different air movement is to actually record using multiple mics all around your real Leslie. That will be an expensive implementation as well. But really the difference is, especially if you upload for YouTube, it's minimal. So because this Leslie, the way how they built it on the XK5, and by the way also on the MOTU, is so good that if you're recording directly from your amplification system, in this case the Roland, the KC-350, or any keyboard amp, directly using your mic, you will not capture any differences. And this is the recording for Procol Harum with the Leslie spinning, and I'm gonna record the portion of Leslie fast, and this is the recording. Thank you. Now you're back. We are back. I'm in here, and now you will hear again the recording of the same song recorded with the same instrument, but only with onboard Leslie. And you'll see that there's no so much difference, or perhaps it's almost the same. Okay, so this is now Procol Harum, the same part, fast Leslie, after the glissando. Okay, welcome back. So what's your idea? That's the question. Which one sounds more realistic? To me, there is not such a big difference to justify 1,000 euro I spend on my Leslie 2101. But that's your opinion. You can leave a comment and we can have a discussion about this. Now, why it's important to use a large diaphragm condenser while you're recording? Because you really want to capture the full sound, the ambient all around the room. And if you don't use such a type of a large diaphragm condenser microphone, then you will not capture all those differences. It's basically like recording your music with some sort of very light reverb. There is a reverb which is basically the room itself, where the sound actually floats all over the place, okay? And that type of mic, a large diaphragm condenser, is capable to do so. This is the reason why I am insisting on this, okay? And this is how I get that sound on the recording that you can actually see on my YouTube channel. You can find all the details about my YouTube channel and all the recordings on the description of this video. And that's it. So I think we have reached the end of this tutorial. I'm gonna make a resume before we close. So for my tutorial, explaining how things works, teaching some songs, how to play a song, teaching how to use drawbars, tutorial in general, everything that is use voices and talk. I'm using the Mackie dynamic broadcast microphone EM99B, this one, hope you can see it. And for my recording, I'm actually using the NT1 from Rode, and this is the one. Okay, hope you can see it properly. Okay, it comes with this nice heavy stand. Okay, now for listening to my recording and to do some small mix, by the way, I'm using Pinnacle as a video editing and OBS for the recording, for the capture. Okay, and I'm using for listen to my mix, if you know, if you don't want to disturb anybody. For my mix, I intend the video mixing before. You know, for example, when you record multicam, you want to switch between the camera. This requires some video editing, and at the same time I'm listening to my recording if there is any defect, and I'm using the Rode NT100, very good headphones. For interface, audio interface card, I'm using the MOTU M4. I repeat, MOTU M4, which is really good, solid audio interface card. For my amplification system, I'm only using the Roland KC-350. It's been replaced by Roland KC-400, but you can use even a smaller amplification system for your small room. And that's it, because you don't really need so much power. This one is more for my live performance when I play to a pub venue every Friday, and that's it. Okay, so thank you very much for listening to my tutorial. Hope you find it interesting, and if you like it, please subscribe and leave a like. And please, if you have any questions, you want to discuss this, you can reach out at my YouTube channel on this video and just leave a comment, and I will respond as soon as possible. Thank you very much, and I'll see you at the next tutorial.